I don't know what the heck's going on. I really don't. Um, so yeah, uh, I'm muted still. Can you hear me now? All right, all right. Aaron says he can hear me now, so that's great. So tonight's guest is Aaron D Johnston. Uh, some of you know him from Shape the or not Shape the podcast, Talking Beards the podcast, and a lot of you know him from Honest Amish. All right, but tonight we're gonna get to know Aaron D Johnston as the person who not that many people know. All right. Um, I'm not gonna lie, I was overwhelmed today. I kind of had a breakdown period, um, and dealing with everything because I get I get overwhelmed every time I do a podcast. I know it's weird, but this is something I take serious, and so because of that, I get a wee bit overwhelmed. Um, but before we start that, I would just like to bring up this lovely, awesome thing. Right, that right there is a lovely kidney. Right, it might not be the most beautiful thing in the world, but it's the most important thing in the world. All right. So until the end of Natalie's kidney journey, I'm gonna bring this up every single week. Let's help Natalie Johnston get a kidney. All right. For those of you who don't know her, for those of you who are not a part of the breeding community, Natalie Johnston is the wife of Aaron D. Johnston. She's one of the most humble people, one of the most well respected people in the breeding community. She will give you the shirt off her back if she needs to. Um, the respect that I have for this woman is above and beyond. So if you haven't registered to become a kidney donor, please go to the Augusta Health website, and please donate to be a kidney donor. There are three different people out there who um, are looking for kidneys right now in the breeding community. So that would be Josh Druin. Right? That would also be Paul Hendricks and Natalie Johnston, of course. So um, whatever you do, just please help out those guys as much as possible. And I'm trying to bring up me again. I don't know why it's not working. There you go. But yes, sorry, I'm technically challenged. But yeah, so if you can, please go to Augusta Health um, and register to be a kidney donor for Natalie. But hey, enough about that. Enough meandering, enough chatting. What's up, everybody? What's going on, Brad? What's going on, Jeff? What's going on, Amber? Good evening, guys. Um, what's up? Yes. Oh yeah, that's right. It's Aaron D. Johnston's not Aaron D. Johnson. He's Mr. Aaron D. Johnson. Aaron D. Johnson, but he's Mrs. Natalie Johnson. All right. Yes. And I guess Aaron Matson or Andrew's known him for a while now. So that's awesome. Um, so yeah, I'm nervous a sec. I'm actually sweating. That's how nervous I am, and I don't know why I am. But let's go ahead and bring up Aaron. How about it? So everybody, tonight's guest, none other than Aaron D. Johnston of Talking Beards fame, none other than Aaron D. Johnston from Honest Amish. Let's go ahead and bring him onto the studio.
Oh, hey,
Oh, hey, what's up?
what's going on? There's
Shoot,
no need to be nervous, Kyle Waller. We
man,
just talked for a solid hour, and
we
then
did.
at the end of the hour, you just started crying like a baby.
Yes, I did. So those of you who don't know me, um, I get really emotional. All right? And I told Aaron a part of my journey is that I'm a twin. For those of you who don't know, that
I had
there's
no
another.
idea.
Yeah,
That
Aaron had no idea.
there's
All right,
freaking two Kyle Wallers out in the world. How
yeah,
terrifying is that?
except for his name is Caleb. All right,
Whatever.
and
He's Kyle Waller if I see him.
yes, but you can tune in about I don't know, probably about a month, and Scott Sikora will actually be on that night, and he'll be interviewing me about my story because I've had a lot of people ask me about my story. But enough about that. Um, Aaron D Johnston. For those of you who there's a lot of people on here that know you, but for those people who don't, tell people who you are.
Oh my gosh, who am I? So I'm Aaron
Yeah.
D Johnston. I am the director of marketing for Honest Amish Beard Care. I am the co-host of Talking Beards, the podcast. Me and Scott Sikora have been doing that podcast since 2018. And yeah, that's the beard stuff. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
the vice president of Talking Beards, the club. I'm Natalie's husband. I just do beard stuff pretty much all day, every day, and that's pretty much my life anymore. But I
Yeah.
used to have a real job and stuff, and it was way
It is.
different. And now
Well,
we're
you know,
doing this.
let's talk about that. So before you became Mr. Honest Amish, Mr. You know, married to a world champion.
Well, in
What
all
about
fairness, she was married to a world champion first.
that's true.
I mean, obviously, she's the world champion. She won
Yes.
worlds, but she was once just married to a world champion, and like a one-time national champion at one
Yes.
point in her life, not
So
like
so let's
now.
so let's just go back some. Let's go back before you became all of this. Let's go back to your trials and tribulations, growing up. Let's go back to home life, brothers and sisters.
Yeah,
Tell
man.
me a little bit about that.
So so my upbringing was a little different, I think, than most people. Real quick, I was born in Paducah, and a few years at Kentucky, and then I think I was like 3 or 4, moved to Metropolis, Illinois. I did kindergarten in Metropolis, and then when I was 6, I started first grade in Kentucky. So that's kind of
Nice.
and it gets
So
weird. It gets weird right there. Go ahead, Kyle.
So what was the move from Metropolis to Kentucky? So you go from Superman land to Podunk, Paducah.
So none of that really makes a lot of sense, right?
Nope.
So this is the way it worked out. So we as a family moved to Metropolis when I was like 4, and then my mom was a school teacher in the school district. Well, she was a special ed teacher, and
awesome.
So part of that being being a special ed teacher was she had to help the kids on and off the bus, and so she had to like ride the bus, until they got off the bus to go to their school, to their houses and stuff. Well, I don't remember this because I was too young, but there was a fire on the bus, and my mom was helping get all the kids off the bus. Well, it was also raining, so she fell off the bus and broke her back, and so she was out of work for a while. And then when she tried to go back to work, she couldn't go back to work because while she was laid up in the hospital, the school district refused to pay her medical bills. So she sued the school district. Obviously won. She wasn't trying to get money. She was literally just trying to get her medical bills paid because she fell at work and broke her back,
oh man.
So with that being said, she wasn't able to go back to work in Illinois. So she had to go be a waitress for a little bit, but my mom was a school teacher. She didn't want to go be a waitress. Yeah. So while she was working at this truck stop, a trucker stop there was like, hey, they're starting a new school district in this little Podunk County about 100 miles from here. Like literally, this is 1988, 87. And they were basically not necessarily like one-room schools, but kindergarten and 8th grade was in the same classes.
Yeah. They weren't big conglomerate schools.
So they were starting a more modern, like K through 5, then a middle school, then a high school. So they're developing a proper school district, and they couldn't find anybody to work because it was a little nothing county, and no one wanted to go there. And so my mom's like, I'll go do it, and so she did that, and that was like I said, about 100 miles from Metropolis. Well, I think the original idea is my dad was going to join us at some point.
All right.
Or we were going to go home. That was that they were going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, we were there from first grade, and I graduated there. So obviously we never went back to Metropolis, but all the while, every weekend we would travel back to Metropolis. So every Friday we would travel I-24 from Elkton, Kentucky, all the way to Metropolis, Illinois. Then Sunday afternoon we go back, and we did that from my whole time, like 6th grade or 6 years old, all the way up until 16, 17, when I decided I'm done doing this. I've got a girlfriend and stuff over here by my school. I don't need to go to Metropolis every weekend. So I quit doing that.
That had to be hard growing up doing that every single weekend.
It was interesting, right? So like I had my school friends, and then when on the weekends, like growing up, it was just me. But then once I got, older and when I was 15, I rode my bike and I got a job at the pizza place there in Metropolis like that. So I started meeting people.
So you
And then
said growing up it was just you. So are you an only child then?
no, so I
Right.
actually I was just talking about like friends wise, not
Oh yeah,
family wise.
gotcha.
You know what I mean? I was just all my buddies were in Elkton. They weren't in Metropolis until I became 16 and I got in car culture, and that changed everything because the car culture where I was growing up in Metropolis was booming. Like it was there were civics everywhere, and there was the Euro scene and all that. Well, back in Elkton, everybody's still just driving tractors to school, and there's pickup trucks. Like there's no, so I come cruising in once I get my, my license, and I'm showing up in a CRX with a loud exhaust and a stereo and rims on it. And they're like, what is this? This is the
Who's
future.
This guy?
Yeah. What is going on? So I was like super cool because I was the only person there for a while to have a Euro car type thing in the Todd County. But
as Andrew Matson says, civics and car washes.
Dude, that was my life. 16, 17, 18.
Really,
I was
that's it.
Cruising civics, parking at car washes, hanging out with people. That was it.
Because back when I was a kid, that was like back when I was a teenager, that was the thing. You cruised up and down the street, you would find a parking lot or a car wash to park in.
That's it.
And you would all your hatchbacks, everything, all your
that
trucks.
Was me, man. I woke up. I was the first one cruising town before school, and I was the first one cruising town after school, and I was probably the last one to leave every day. But
so
that's
awesome. During that time, because you're going back and forth. I'm sure that led to some trouble.
It did. Well, yeah. So don't forget about the sibling question. We'll get back there.
Yes, man, we'll circle back to that.
So when I was, you got to think. So once I got my license, that's when I really started getting in trouble. Like before I got my license, I was okay. Like I would dress kind of crazy to school and stuff, and I would get somewhat in trouble. Like, in school suspension or just take that off. You know what I mean? But once I started driving,
that's when it all went down.
That's when it all went downhill.
Hey, what's up, Andrew Orton? Hello, what's going on, man?
What's up, Andrew Orton?
So so those of you who are new to the whole podcast scene, Tuesday night, I was on Talking Beards, the podcast, and Aaron talked about how him and his buddies would go to like Goodwill, St. Vincent de Paul, and they would find clothes, and he would wear these crazy outfits to school.
Yeah, we would we would go to St. Vincent de Paul, and nothing over there was over $2. So we would go in there and we would get like lime green plaid pants with a bright pink plaid jacket with a blue shirt, and and we would wear that crap to school, or I would just I dressed in drag to school several times and got sent home. Just I don't know, anything I didn't want to be there. I had no interest in being
to stand out, but stand out to make it there where you didn't have to be there.
So I would like to say that I made them update the student handbook in the middle of the year. The only time this has ever happened, because I was getting in so much trouble because I would go by the handbook and I would just overanalyze it. I'm like, well, it doesn't say I can't have purple hair. So I'd dye my hair purple and come to school, and they'd be like, oh, well, you're a distraction. I'm like, well, girls with big boobs is a distraction. Are they going to get kicked out of school? And then then I get in trouble for saying that. But it's true, like
that's true.
It's all, relative. Yeah, I'm a distraction, but they're a distraction. So what do you do? But I would like wear bracelets all the way up to my elbows. Didn't say anything about that in the handbook, but stuff like that changed.
Certainly, but later on down the road, the handbooks changed because of that guy right there.
It was my fault.
So like during that time where you're dressing wild and you're living your rambunctious life as a teenager, what did your siblings think about it?
So at that point in my life, I was the only child. So my two sisters and my brother were all very much older. So I'm going to get ages all wrong. So I think my sisters are like 7 and 8 years older than me, and my brother was probably about 15 years older than me. And my brother never lived with me growing up, but he was like my dad's son. So on some weekends in Metropolis, me and my dad would go swing over, pick up my brother, and we go to breakfast or lunch or something like that. And that was all the really relationship I had
All right.
growing up with my brother. And it was cool having him around and stuff. But
Yeah.
it was just he wasn't. I mean, he was my brother, and it would have been cool to really get to know him and stuff. And later on in life, he had some rough runnings. He was a
Mm-hmm.
really bad alcoholic, and he did some time in jail and stuff like that. So he couldn't get like a real job. So he was doing a lot of under the table cash stuff, construction,
Yeah.
and his trailer ended up burning down. And this farmer down the road was like, "Hey, you can move in with us and take care of our pigs, and
Yeah.
we'll pay you a little bit." And he's like, "Heck yeah!" And
That's awesome.
yeah, well, so until that ended, so that the farmer
Yeah.
passed. Well, the farmer passed away, and then his kids took it over.
Gotcha.
Well, they were going to get rid of the farm, so that kind of left my brother out. So
And
in
did you sweep in as a brother? Did you sweep in to help him out?
I wish that's where the story was headed, but
Right.
no, I wasn't able to do that. So in 2015, my brother took his life, and
Mm. Mm.
that's where his story ended, man. He always
Yeah.
had a real rough upbringing, and he just alcohol got a hold of him,
Yeah.
and it just never. I heard a lot of crazy stories about my brother, and he was a wild man for sure. But
And
yeah,
I'm sure that had some effect on you.
it sucked, man, because
Right.
I remember like right before that had happened, me and my dad had a long conversation about like, I was like, hey, like I'm an adult, I'm starting to do stuff over here in South Carolina.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to develop a relationship with my brother, but my brother and my dad always kind of had a real rocky relationship too. So
Yeah.
sometimes it didn't really work out, but man, it was like not too long before my brother took his life. We were going to I was going to go have a brother, like me
Yeah.
and my dad talked about this,
Yeah.
and it wasn't a few months before that. And it just, man, it's just the way it all worked out. And it super sucked. But
Yeah.
I mean,
So, I don't know.
so yeah, I
I
did have a
I'm
brother. That was part of that question.
I'm grateful for the relationship I have with my siblings. Even though yes, for everybody that's just now joining, as Aaron found out tonight, I am a twin.
That's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, the relationship I have with my twin brother is not the best, but and hopefully one day it will be. I don't know how hard it's going to be to get it that way, just because he just doesn't see eye to eye on you know some things that I see.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, alcohol is a very dangerous drug.
It's
Which
bad, man. Like it really got a hold of my brother. I don't think my dad ever drank alcohol in his whole
yeah,
life. And my mom did early, but her dad was a bad alcoholic, so she steered clear of it. And my mom just
yeah,
yeah, it's a
and I
super
don't
dangerous drug, man. It's legal. It's
I
the
don't
craziest thing.
I don't want to leech off the subject to you, but I dealt with that, but I found out that it wasn't alcohol wasn't my problem. My problem was I was surrounding myself with nothing but alcoholics and
Mhm.
druggies. And so what did I do to fit in?
Yeah,
I
you had to
drank
do that too. And
yeah, I drank
yeah,
to
and
oblivion. I snorted coke to oblivion. So I did that to fit in. Yeah. But now and everybody you'll find out about this in a couple weeks. Now I'm able to sit here in a house full of alcohol,
not
bottles of
drink.
bourbon
Yep.
untouched, not have to worry about it. So yeah, so I'm sorry to hear about your brother. That
Yeah.
sucks.
It
You
did
know,
suck, but
but
luckily I had 2 sisters that,
yeah,
I grew up with, and they were both my half sisters, but
all right,
not never once in my entire life did my sisters ever feel like a half. Like
yeah,
they were my mom's kid, but I mean, even, just throughout their life, me and my sisters were all really close. They were
yeah.
both way older than me, so by the time I got in high school and started running amok and being super crazy, they were both gone on their own doing super crazy stuff.
So
Like,
all right, so when you say running amok, being super crazy, what's it for you? What was running amok and being super crazy?
man, so it's all car related, man.
All
Like,
right,
so it
so
would
you're
be
talking like drag racing or just
Oh
just
yeah,
street
dude.
racing?
Dude, I did so much street racing. It was
All right.
unbelievable. Like I would purposely go out of my way sometime. Well, that was later on life when I had faster cars. But in high school, you know, lots of street racing, doing crazy stuff just because I could. I would drive on the sidewalks and stuff in town. A lot of showing off after school. I think that was the biggest thing I probably got in the most trouble for. Like going
because you got to be the biggest and the baddest.
Yeah, e-brake sliding around Dairy Queen with the parking lot full of people, and you know, just crazy stuff. And so I remember one story.
Andrew says street racing for family. No, man, you're
family.
You're street racing for the hustle, you know.
But yeah, so where was I going? So one story with me getting in trouble. Our county was very small, and I knew the sheriff. But I went to school with his daughter. The whole time I went to school, she was in my grade.
Jeff Harris wants to know: Did you do donuts in people's yards?
Hell yeah, dude. What do you think? Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
He did donuts in his yard. Come on now.
For sure. She came to school one day and she said, "Hey, I need to talk to you." I'm like, "That's weird, you know, like we're not like buddies, but we know each other." And she's like, "Hey, I heard my mom and dad talking last night. You have I don't even know. It was big. It was like, you can't hear me no more. What happened? I don't know, man. Can people still hear us? Or is it just Kyle Waller's computer being crazy? Andrew, I'm looking at you. Just Kyle. All right, so it's just you. They can hear me, so figure your life out, Kyle Waller. Yeah, your mic is not plugged in anymore. I don't know what to tell you, man. So I'm just going to keep telling my story. So when she came to school and she grabbed a hold of me and was like, "Hey, you know, we need to talk to you." Her dad and her mom, she heard them talking overnight. And I guess I had something like 50, 60 written complaints about me at the police station about my driving. And yeah, basically, if I got in trouble anymore, he was going to figure out how to take my license. And so, needless to say, I did my best to chill out after that, but who knows? I don't know. I was just, it was always car stuff. That was the main thing I always got in trouble for. It was cars and being crazy and sneaking out of the house and all that good stuff. What is up with your stuff, Kyle Waller? What is going on? Okay, your mic's back on, but I don't hear you. I do belong in Detroit, Brad. I guess. You got a long time to go. I know. Like this is got a lot more to cover. It's gonna be a 2-hour episode, Kyle Waller. I don't know what to tell you. Leave and come back, man. I need to get into shape. Kyle Waller's freaking out. Check the mic in your settings. We got 2 Kyle Wallers now. All right, move this Kyle Waller. Add this Kyle Waller. Hello? Hey, there you are.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to operate off my cell phone, looks like.
There you go. Well, turn your cell phone sideways so you're at least full screen. Pow.
So, yeah, I do not know what the heck is going on. I really don't.
Me neither.
Give me 1 second. Hold on.
You're good.
Oh, wow.
It is low back. Oh, hey, I don't know what else I'm supposed to be talking about. He was supposed to be, this isn't mine. I'm supposed to be answering his questions, making an investment. And oh, look at that. The Shape podcast says we need to make an investment in real equipment.
I'm back. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
The Shape podcast. Yeah.
Of course, on the night that I'm supposed to have Aaron D Johnston on everything decides to go haywire.
It went haywire. From
Like,
jump, it went haywire.
I guess I'm gonna have to invest in a laptop. I don't know.
What were you on? You were on your iPad?
I was on my iPad, yeah, and I
Man,
lost everything. It
that's
said
all good.
it popped up and said I lost connection with the mic.
Well,
And I
you're
don't.
back up and running now. Just take a
Yeah.
breath.
So hey, thanks for talking to people while I was gone.
Hey, man, it's all good. So yeah, that was mainly what I was getting in trouble for, Kyle, in high school. It was all car stuff, street racing, sneaking out in the middle of the night, going, hanging out with people. That was the big thing. I always wondered if my mom knew I snuck out all the time and would like go to Clarksville and eat at Waffle House at 2:00 in the morning. And then I would sneak back home before she woke up. And then I was always just the biggest pain in the butt to wake up. I remember that, like, my mom would always have to like dump water on me or something, or she said that was always the most stressful part of her entire day, is just waking me up. But it was because I didn't sleep.
I'm gonna try to position my phone. Just keep on talking.
You're good. That's what I was doing. But yeah, just sneaking out and stuff. Give me another question. Talk about Kyle Waller. What else you want to know?
So, let's talk about, so you're doing that. So during all that sneaking out and driving around and just being an all out badass, did you ever get hooked on to the, the drug scene or the alcohol scene, anything like that? Like what? How did that go?
Really? So like 15, 16, 17, I wasn't real like I'd smoked pot like a couple times, barely. I probably didn't even do it right. And like I don't remember. So I drank my first alcohol. I think I was like 17 because I was working at Domino's Pizza in Russellville, and one of the drivers was 21, and we're like, hey, yeah, give us some Mike's Hard Lemonade or whatever. And me and my buddy Mark would go back to my mom's house and drink it. And that was pretty much our drinking. But no, not really, man. Like high school, like I did acid probably a couple times, smoked pot a couple times, and popped a couple pills and drank a little bit in high school. But it wasn't like constant. Like it wasn't, I experimented a little bit. That was like later on in my 20s. I was like, let's try all the things and see how this goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, high school, I was pretty chill. I was just getting bad grades and chasing girls and driving cars. That was it.
Your big thing was just causing a muck.
Dude, nothing else mattered in my entire life after I got my license. Nothing at all. Like I was just driving my car or working on it or sitting in parking lots talking to other people about their cars. And Natalie just said I haven't changed at all, except for I don't go talk to people about cars as much anymore. But I don't know, man. It just something about cars is always just, I could quote Fast and the Furious and be like, something about cars just always just calms me down. I don't know. Like
terrible movie to quote, by the way.
It's the weirdest thing. Like we'll drive across country and it's just like, I just feel super calm. And I'll watch Natalie drive a mile and a half down the road and she's freaking out. And I'm just like, I feel complete. Like, obviously I run into people and they're super dumb and they frustrate me when I'm out on the road. But like just on like just a driving basis, like, I don't know, just something about it.
So that's why you like driving.
I think so, man. It's my favorite thing to do in the whole world. It bothers some people and it confuses me when people are like, oh, I hate driving. I'm like, I genuinely don't hate it at all. Like at all. Like 16 hours in a car driving, I start getting I need to take a break. But I can keep going if I need to.
So let's fast forward. And then, you grow up and then you start working at a nuclear site. How the heck did you get into that?
So after high school, I had some buddies in high school and they were farmers. I was friends with everybody. Like I always hung out with like the skater kids and like the punks and stuff. And then I had like my car friends and then I had like the preppy farm kid friends. Well, a couple of my kind of like preppy farm friends, they went off after high school. So we graduated May 2001 and one of their dads owned a farm. and one of the farm hands used to do what I used to do. They did non-destructive testing and X-ray on piping systems.
Okay.
And so one of my good friends was like, "Hey, I'm going to go do that." And then he took his buddy, and they both went and did that right after high school in May. Well,
All right.
June 2001, I started tech school. I wanted to be an auto mechanic. Obviously, it's all I ever wanted to do was work on cars, be with cars. I'm going to be a mechanic. It's all I ever thought of since I was probably like 5th grade.
Yeah.
Well, I quickly realized I did not want to be an auto mechanic. I didn't want to change people's oil. I didn't want to have to do their brakes. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to work on my stuff.
Aaron did not work at the tire discounters.
Nope, no interest. So every day at school, we had to do we had the first part of the day we had to do class, and then the second part of the day we could either continue class or we could do shop.
Yeah,
I'm counting down the hour, the minutes to shop every day, and so every day I'm like pulling my truck in. I'm like, yeah, teacher, I got to rotate these tires or something just to work on my truck, and that's changing the stereo out or whatever. Anyway. Long story short, I didn't do well in college for 6 months because all I wanted to do was work on my own things. And I wasn't I was learning. I was going through class and I was picking up stuff, but I wasn't doing it what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm just picking and choosing the stuff I want to do.
All stuff just to say you went to college.
So one of my buddies of those two that, after high school, they got a cool little Toyota truck. And so I got a cool little Toyota truck and I brought it to school and I rebuilt it for him. Well, he was like bringing me all these super cool parts. Like I was like this race cams and headers and I'm like bigger intakes and I'm like all this like pretty expensive stuff you're putting in this little crappy Toyota truck. And all the teacher and everybody's like, how are you affording all these parts? Like, are you a drug dealer or whatever? I'm like, no, I deliver pizzas at Papa John's. Obviously, because I'm driving.
Yeah.
And so, school ends in December and those two guys I graduated high school with, they did really well their first 6 months. So their boss was like, hey, is there another one of you kids down there that's going to do good like you two? And I went up there in December 01. And God, what a freaking long time ago. And I did my interview and I did well, I guess. So in January 2002, I started, had no idea what I was getting myself into. I just know we had long conversations about radiation and, me and my buddies, they kind of explained to me what we were doing. You put film on one side of a pipe, you put a active radioactive source on the other side of the pipe, you crank out the source to a known time per thickness, and then you crank it back in and you develop the film in a dark room. And I was like, this sounds really interesting. I'm going to do this. And so I traveled all over the United States, working in power plants, making my $9 an hour and my $100 a day per diem, thinking I was just rich as crap, man. Working 7/12. I worked 7/12s for 9 straight months when I was like 19 years old.
You were mediocre, right?
I was just buying as many car parts and everything as I possibly could. I had, at that point in time, I had an apartment in Owensboro, Kentucky, where I met Natalie.
Yeah.
And I had my mom's house, and I had an apartment in Lawrenceburg, Indiana for a while. And so I had at least 2 cars at every location. So it was just absurd,
You met Natalie in Owensboro, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Were you cruising the street and saw this hot girl standing on the side of the street?
Basically. So when I graduated high school, I immediately got married. A lot of people don't know that. So I married my high school sweetheart right after high school. She was a year behind me. She basically cheated on me her whole senior year. And I was just running the roads, working, I was gone. I was working 7/12s for 9 straight months.
Yeah.
And so she's like, all right, I'm done with high school. We're ready to be serious. And then we got married immediately. We're like, all right. She's like, I'm not going to cheat on you anymore if we get married. I'm like, yeah, this is a great idea.
Yes.
And literally two of the guys I worked with locked me in a hotel room. Was like, dude, what are you doing? This is the dumbest thing you could possibly do ever. And I couldn't get out of that room fast enough and go marry this freaking girl. And Yeah, 6 months later, that was over. She cheated on me. Wow, big surprise. And yeah, that was it
Who
for
was
that.
that?
But that apartment that me and that girl had in Owensboro,
All right.
Natalie was my neighbor.
All right. Okay. All right.
Funny story about this. My
Uh-huh.
cousin was in love with Natalie, like
Okay.
deeply in love with her. And so that's how I met Natalie, because they went to school together. And my
Oh,
cousin, because I was never home, he would randomly stay in my apartment, just, to stay in
yeah.
my apartment, because
Just
he
because.
lived, well, his family was like an hour away. So he went to school in Owensboro. So like through the week, he would like do a mixture of sleeping on benches on campus, sleeping under bridges, and sleeping in my apartment. That's what he did. And that's facts. And so one day, he was walking back to the apartment, and Natalie's like, hey, Robert, you want to ride? And instead of walking, he's like, sure. And she's like, just tell me where to go. And he's like, turn here. And she's like, are we going to my apartment? Is that what we're doing? And she parked, walked in her apartment. He walked up the stairs, and right above Natalie, that's where I was at. And so she's like, your cousin lives above us? Is that the one with all the cars that's never here? And yep, that was me. I'm the one with all the cars, and I'm never there. She was like, there's this green truck, there's this green car, they're just here, they're loud. Like, the dude's never here. And
So she was already watching you, believe it or not. She was already watching.
it wasn't really she was probably watching me. It was just I was loud and obnoxious.
Yes.
And she had a baby, and I was like cutting the mufflers off on my truck at 10 o'clock at night. And
hold on. Natalie had a baby.
Yeah. She's got a 22-year-old son.
All right. Well, that's something I did not know. And that's amazing.
Right. Yeah. So I met Natalie that way. And we never dated, or, she was, in relationships and stuff. And I was in and out, but we knew each other. We got each other's numbers. We're like, hey, what's going on? Hey, I'm gone again. Can you go check on my apartment and stuff like that? And it was pretty convenient for me. And she was like, hey, my AC went out. Can I go stay in your apartment? I'm like, I don't care. I'm not there. Whatever. And so that was our friendship. We were buddies for a while. And then she moved, and I moved out of Owensboro, but she stayed in Owensboro. She never left. And so I left, and I ran the roads. I ended up in Texas for a while. I ended up back in Kentucky. I just traveled working. Imagine that. And so this was 2008. I ended up in Trenton, Kentucky. I moved back to Kentucky. I was done living in El Paso.
Okay.
Oh yeah, well, that was a big part of it. But so
what's the peanut gallery saying over there?
The peanut gallery said you can go through your drug-infused phase, but
Dude, let's do that.
We're working on this part of the story, Kyle.
All right.
So yeah, 2008. I was working in Ohio. I was off on the weekend, and just one day I was like, me and Natalie had been texting a little bit more, like sending memes and stuff. It was nothing. And yeah,
that's how kids memes.
Yeah, right. And so this is 2008, and then I was like, hey, I'm not doing anything this weekend. I'm gonna come see you. I hadn't seen you since 2003, something like that, 2004 maybe. So 4 or 5 years later, went back to Owensboro, picked her up at her apartment. We went to a restaurant, had a good time. Then we went to I think we went to buy some DVDs at Best Buy. We went, to see a couple movies at the drive-in. We ended up going out to eat again. We went to a dance club with her aunt, where her aunt was like making us dance and stuff. And then, 13 hours later, I drove back to wherever I was working. And then that was pretty much it. We never quit talking after that. And about 6 weeks later, we got married. I was
all right.
And then for like the first while, 2-3 weeks, we weren't even living together. She had to still put in her 2-week notice at her job and everything. So I drove up there one weekend, threw all of her crap in the truck, and moved her in with me and my roommate Mark. And I'm sure he was super pumped on the idea, because usually you talk about stuff like that, but I don't. I just wing it, man. My whole life I've just winged it, and I'm like, you know what? Me and Natalie are going to move in together. This is a good idea. So we move her in, and it works out. And Mark ends up moving to South Carolina. And a few months later, I took a a pretty sizable pay increase, and I also moved to South Carolina, and we've been here since 2010.
So let's just talk about what Natalie was talking about. Your the drug days. Come on now.
It was, I mean, it really wasn't even that bad.
Well, yeah.
So
Well, of course, you survived it, but you know,
well, I mean, Natalie helped me survive it. I'm just facts. It was right before Natalie was probably the most I was doing of anything. It was like early 2008. Like there was, we were all not, we were doing coke and stuff, and like once I found weed, like I never really like probably it was it, man. Like all day, every day. It was just my thing. Like I was like, man, I'm doing this smoking weed stuff, especially when I went to El Paso and it right there on the border. It was just so massively cheap down there. But when we moved back to, I moved back to Kentucky, man, it was just like everybody at work was just like, pills were always floating around, and acid was floating around, and coke would float around, and we would just all do it. Like it was just like whatever. And then when I would get off work, I'd pour a big glass of rum and I'd fire up a blunt, and that was it. That was every day, man, every day. And looking back at it, man, I was freaking just wasting my life. I lived right there in the same county with my family, and I wasted all that time and didn't spend as much time as I should have. Like my family was right there, and I'm 15 minutes. I've been gone for 4 years running the roads, and I moved back to Kentucky to kind of hang out with my family, and I'm just sitting there getting messed up and in my apartment instead of doing stuff.
You're doing Aaron then.
Yeah, man.
You're not doing the most responsible thing, because I mean that's part of my story too. I went years without talking to my family because I was too busy doing what Kyle wanted to do.
Yeah, dude, it was always about whatever Aaron was going to do. And like I said, with my work and stuff, it just made it even worse because, dude, I'd go to El Paso and all the drugs were so cheap down there. Everybody was doing it. Everybody was doing it. And it was everywhere. And you couldn't get away from it when everybody you work with is doing it and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
we're in your face.
We're working all day and, sneaking off and doing stuff we shouldn't at work, and then we get off work and go do more stuff we shouldn't be doing. You know what I mean?
Did that have any effect on your relationship with Natalie? Then you're young and you're married.
When Natalie and I first got together, I told her I smoked weed, and she was like, "Oh yeah, that's cool," but she didn't realize that when like my definition of smoking weed was different from her definition of smoking weed. She'd be like, "Oh, you smoke weed. All right. Like, so you must like do it sometimes." I'm like, "Yeah, when I wake up," and then like probably a little bit like an hour later. And then, there's lunch, obviously. And that was, throughout, that was my day. And, she had no idea. But when we very, very first got together, it made it harder. I mean, I'll just be honest, like she was watching my money. We had one bank account, so I couldn't go buy pills because then she'd be like, "Where'd this $20 go?" And at the time, it was probably aggravating because everybody at work was still doing drugs and stuff, and I wasn't allowed to anymore because I'm being watched. But now is probably the best thing and the absolutely the best thing that possibly could have ever happened.
Yeah, it helped you grow up as a person,
Yeah, and even after I got with Natalie, it was the first time I ever had car insurance, Kyle. Wow. And it was that's just the way, this is the way I would do it. After I got out of my parents' house, and got off their insurance, I always had to pay my part of the insurance. So don't get it twisted. But now I'm on my own. What I would do is I would call like Safe Auto, and I would get an insurance card for 6 months, and I'd pay $100, and then 6 months later I'd call them again and pay another $100, and they'd send me another card. So every time I got pulled over, it looked like I had an insurance card, and it was foolproof. It worked just fine. No one ever checked it until someone checked it. But yeah, so before Natalie, I never even had car insurance. So I was really just winging life. She really, really, really did force me to grow up at what, 26, 27, 28, however old I was when we got together. 25. So
I hate to like interrupt this,
you're
but
good.
Mr. Elo Pilate, I hope I'm not butchering your name. He says El Paso is not all about drugs.
Well, I mean, it's not all about drugs, but when you work at the refinery in the middle of the town, and you know, there's two things that happen in El Paso: strip clubs and drugs. I don't know. That's it. That's all I saw when I was in El Paso.
Yeah.
Work, strip clubs, and drugs. That's it.
So you're going through that. You're dealing with the drugs on a daily basis. You have a woman who has a young kid at this time.
Mm.
What made you say, you know what, this isn't the life for me anymore?
Man, it just, I don't know. It was just a combination of things, right?
Yeah.
So
now was this? So let's just pause right there.
Yeah.
Were you doing this when you heard about the breeding community, or was this before the breeding thing?
This is way before the bearding community. The bearding community didn't happen until like we got in South Carolina, and this is still Kentucky.
All
So by the time I got to, so I was doing, you know, some stuff, and then Natalie got with me, and then I would just smoke weed and stuff, and we would still drink and whatnot. So I was still drinking then, and she was never a fan of me drinking, but it was always just, I just drank. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing drugs, you know what I mean? So that would be the argument. And but she'd be like, but you smoke weed and you drink every day. That's just as bad. And I'm like, but I'm not doing drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not doing drugs. I'm just doing a drug.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a plant.
Yeah.
But at towards the end of my working in Kentucky days, meth showed up at work.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. I never touched it. I had always there's something that happened to me in my life at one of my buddy's houses. He was my weed dealer. There was a dude there one time, super, like, he is not well. He is in a bad place in his life, obviously, this guy. And he asked me straight up, he's like, "Do you like doing coke?" I was like, "Hell yeah, man." He was like, "Never do meth." He was like, "It's way better."
Yeah,
and then it will get a hold of you. Never do it. And from that, I never did. That dude kept me from doing meth, and he, no idea who he was, where he, you know, I didn't even know the guy. That was the entire conversation. And so when it showed up at work and stuff, I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm good." But then I'd be working with these guys on meth, and it would freaking suck because they're running 90 miles an hour, and I'm like, not, you know, I'm like, I drink a Red Bull, but that's not the same. So these guys are freaking getting it.
It's funny you say that. So I used to do cocaine really heavy, back early 2000s. But I am the only one that I know of that could fall asleep after doing an 8-ball of cocaine. I would get the burning in my neck and the burning in my nose, and I would get so high that I could literally go lay down.
That's crazy.
Fall asleep.
That we would be, you know, up all night talking about cereal and shit. Yeah.
And here I am because I was drunk and I was high.
Right.
I would just be to the point. So you're dealing with that.
Yeah. So we're dealing with that, and that's towards my end of my Kentucky working stuff. Right. Well, my bosses knew I smoked weed. That was part of the thing when I took the job. I wasn't going to get raises and stuff, but I got to smoke weed. Yeah. And that was kind of the owner. And I'm like, whatever, you know, it's fine. Well, the owner knew. Well, I guess one of his managers didn't know. Right. Yeah. And the manager caught me one day and like just point blank asked me, and I'm not going to lie. You know, that's just never really been my thing. He asked me, "You smoke weed?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Here, pee in a cup." I'm like, "You just asked me."
Yeah.
Peeing in the cup. Then I got some time at home, and the owner came to the house and paid me. This is probably shouldn't tell this part, but it's fine. It's been long enough. He paid me. He was like, I knew the deal. He was like, here's your 2-week pay. Don't ever tell nobody. Well, from that point, I'm like, well, I'm in trouble now. I might as well get clean. Mm-hmm. And because they were going to pee me a lot. And
because they knew. Yeah.
They knew. So I get peed all the time for like the next few months. And I was like, keep fake pee with me and stuff.
Yeah,
And I got freaking caught with fake pee. So then that made it worse.
Yeah.
And so then I had to get for real clean. And then I got for real clean. And then Mark left and went to South Carolina. And so I'm like, my pee's clean. Might as well go get a big boy job, right? So I got to, my pay almost doubles, and I moved to South Carolina, and that was it. I worked for the government. And Natalie wants to tell this part. Take one step back. So I'm dead. I'm done. I'm done working there. My pee's clean. I'm going to make money. Like I'm done making okay. I'm going to make money now. Well, I had an offer to go to Casper, Wyoming, making $30 an hour, working 7/12s, $150 a day per diem. I was like, cha-ching, baby. We're going to Casper, Wyoming.
I'm gonna turn to a drag racing, street loving cowboy.
Hell yeah. Well, Natalie wasn't thrilled about this. I was just seeing money, 7/12s, $30 an hour. I'm just gonna work my guts out. And the package for this Casper, Wyoming job showed up the same day the job for South Carolina showed up. So I got to fill out these, employment packages.
Okay.
Well, I come home from work, and Natalie has completely filled out the South Carolina employment package and said, here, sign here, here, and here, and put it in the mailbox. And so I end up, that's it. We moved to South Carolina, and the first couple days of us being down here, the Casper, Wyoming job called and was like, hey, are you coming, or what are you doing? Like, thought you were on your way. I'm like, actually, I took a job in South Carolina, and they were.
Got to tell you, my bad.
Oh, by the way, I'm not coming. And they're like, oh, and then they hung up mad. But South Carolina couldn't have worked out any better. I've loved it down here. I have I had an amazing job. Worked out really well. I was at the Savannah River site. It's a 375 square mile nuclear facility right outside of town.
Wow, that's
big. It was part of, so it was built in the 50s, and it was part of the Manhattan Project that was developing the big bomb. It was, it didn't happen here, but part of like the guts and stuff was made. The nuclear stuff was all made here, and the reactors and whatnot. And then it went out west to Washington, and then they set a bunch off in Nevada and destroyed all that crap out there. But anyway, the South Carolina aspect of it is where I ended up. Well, now it's a cleanup project, basically. There's still some crazy stuff going on out there, and there's tanks, and there's military airplane, helicopters that fly around with machine guns. So there's still some stuff going on out there. But mostly it's cleaning up because they didn't know what the heck they were doing. They were just filling tanks full of radioactive water, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, the radioactive water ate through the tanks, and now it's in the ground. Whoops.
Imagine that. Yeah.
Whoops. A bunch of that. So
big time no-nos. So did you ever go? I grew up in Tennessee, and there was a nuclear site in Carthage, Tennessee. Did you ever go to that one, or Carthage?
Carthage? I went to Oak Ridge.
Oak Ridge. It's
Oak Ridge. So it was Oak Ridge, Savannah River site, and Hanford site in Washington were the three nuclear facilities that was built in the 50s, and all to develop that bomb. And they would. So when we came here, what they were doing was I got on the MOX project, the mixed oxide fuel fabrication facility, and it was going to turn weapons-grade plutonium into fuel rods for nuclear power plants.
Oh, yeah?
Well, this was a treaty between the United States and Russia, and so we thought it was a done deal, and we were just going to work at the MOX forever. I mean, that was probably the closest I've ever gotten with a group of working people, and I still talk to a bunch of those dudes now, and I don't hardly talk to anybody from companies like in Kentucky and stuff. Besides Mark, he traveled with me. He was so different.
My wife actually just said that she's actually, she's a nurse, and she's actually taking care of people who actually work there.
Mm-hmm. Dude, it's bad. There's a lot of sick people that come out from Savannah River site. I was in a pretty clean area. I was on construction. So since I was on construction, not on the active side, I could start growing my beard. So then that's when like the beard growing started, because before that I could grow like a 5 o'clock shadow, but then I got to go to this chemical plant. So I'd have to shave. And that was it from.
I should have found a picture of you with your little bitty goatee. So, yeah, young. This is young Aaron D Johnston. He had
Yeah.
like this baby. He had this baby goatee, and you could tell he was definitely in the cars. In so yeah. So you start growing your beard. So you start growing it just because you grow a beard, though.
Heck yeah, man. I couldn't freaking wait. Dude, I didn't shave the last 2 months at my job in Kentucky. I didn't even give a crap. I knew where I was going. And one of the last jobs I went on in Kentucky, funny enough, they wanted me to go to Effingham, Illinois to go work in this power plant for 2 weeks.
All
But
right.
they wanted but I needed an assistant to go with me. But our
Gotcha.
company was so small, we didn't have an extra person for an assistant. So Natalie was my assistant. I was like, well, my wife's going to go with me anyway. How about y'all come in here, give her some training, and
Yep.
then, I'll get 2 paychecks and 2 per diems, and y'all will make more money too because you can double bill for another technician. And so
Yep.
Natalie went on that job to Effingham, Illinois with me, and it was on that job that I did my interview in South Carolina on the phone. But yeah, so we ended up in South Carolina and quit shaving and trimmed and had a regular beard, and 2012 found Whisker Wars, and then that whole that whole
thing. You're growing a beard because you could grow a beard.
Heck yeah, I was so excited I didn't have to shave anymore.
So who the heck told you about Whisker Wars? And
His name, yeah, go ahead.
For those people who don't know what Whisker Wars was or is, so Whisker Wars was a TV show or a series that was about a bunch of guys who grew beards and mustaches and just facial hair that traveled to all these different competitions. Well, what Whisker Wars really was, it was to show you party, 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 party.
100%.
It's not like it is today. Mm-hmm. So there are guys who are still in the breeding community that were actually part of Whisker Wars. And those guys will tell you, if you ever meet MJ Johnson, unfortunately, you will never meet Jack Passion because nobody knows where Jack Passion is.
He shaved and he won't return anybody's calls.
Yes, it was all about partying and drama.
That's it.
So you get hooked on the Whisker Wars and you start watching Whisker Wars.
Yeah, so I remember I share the post. Every time I run across it on Facebook in my memory thing, I share it. It was just a random selfie on the porch of our office at the Mox. Not supposed to take pictures in there, but whatever. Selfie, Facebook. Hey, today is a good day, or whatever my page is, picture is, or whatever. And this dude, his name's Brandon Quisenberry. Never met him in real life. He was a mini trucking friend that I knew when I lived in Kentucky, but he lived in South Carolina. Still haven't even met him. And he lives in Alabama now. He was a whaler. He had a really good, pretty big beard, whaler.
That's why because that dude. By the way, John Abraham said that Jack Passion is in San Francisco, supposedly.
Yeah, he's Crystal Davis.
That would be Modesto.
It's San Francisco and Modesto is the same thing.
Same thing. All right.
Same thing.
So you start watching this, and this is where the whole I'm going to join the breeding community came from.
Mm-hmm. That's it, man. Like some random mini trucking friend said, "Hey, you ever check out this, Whisker War show? It's on IFC." I'm like, "I'll check it out," and we're all about reality TV shows over here. We love Jersey Shore and stuff, and we're like, heck yeah, the freaking reality TV show about beards. This will be pretty cool.
Yeah,
and it was amazing. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen in my entire life.
Of course.
I loved it. There was just something about the whole thing. Like, it was just like, I felt it. I felt that those were the people I needed to be with. Like, I was like, this is amazing. This is actually something I could be involved with. I could do this. Like, this isn't like looking at Survivor like, I could do that. Man, I can't do that crap. I'd freaking die the first day. But this, I can grow a beard. I could do this.
And of course, back when Whisker Wars was a thing, there was no such thing as Whiskerinas. Whiskerinas weren't even
not really.
No,
I mean, they were like kind of, sort of, but not really. Not like now.
So you go to your first beard competition,
May 2014.
Do you know where it was?
Charleston, South Carolina.
All right.
I was in the whatever 4 to 8 category.
Yeah. So how was that?
6 to 12. I was in 6 to 12.
Were Were you like, this is it?
Dude, I had the best beard in the world. Every
Yeah.
time I went to the grocery store, someone said something about my beard. So obviously, I'm gonna go to this beard competition and kick all these guys' butts. Obviously, there's no doubt in my mind. I got my freaking butt handed to me, son. Freaking probably 12 people in my category. I know I finished 11th. I don't know how many people were in my category, but I was next to last of whatever that number was.
But you had that confidence going into it, like
and it was shattered. Shattered. I was destroyed. I was crushed. I was coming to Charleston. I was winning this beard competition. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. No, hell no. I got my freaking butt kicked. Like,
what did Nat? Because I'm sure by then Natalie's like, what the hell is this beard? What?
We're both doing that. Yeah. We're both like, what the hell? What have we got? There's a red carpet. Everybody's wearing suits. There's whiskerinas. They're wearing big ball gowns. And
so what was her thoughts about the whole thing when you talked to her and said, hey, we're going to Charleston, we're going to this beard competition, we're going to do this? What was her thoughts?
I mean, we both enjoyed the show. We both thought it was super cool. We're like, yeah, let's go check this out. I mean, I don't know if she felt it as passionately as I did, but like we both, had to feel something about it because she went along too. But it was more. It was so much more than we would have ever imagined. It was the charity aspect of it. It was the like everybody knew each other and we're just off in the corner, not knowing anybody. I mean, Paul Roof was on the stage and he was like this just massive celebrity to me. And like, I was just like, this is just crazy. This whole thing's crazy. Like these women are wearing beards and it was crazy. And like, I was hooked. And we were going to do every beard competition ever. And I didn't do another one. Like, I was scared to death.
Because you were scared of getting beat again?
Hell yeah, man. My confidence was shattered. Like, shattered. And
so how long was it from that time till your next competition?
So for the next year, that's when like the Facebook stalking started, right? So I'm like following all the beard people and I'm checking out, okay, there's this beard competition in this town. Let's check out the pictures. I'm like, all right. So I'm invested in the beard community at this point. I'm just online. But I'm watching everything. Every competition, yeah, exactly. Melissa Crafton. I was probably stalking you. I was stalking them all, but yeah, man, everybody with a beard that was a beard competition person, I was watching them. I was checking it out. Yeah. 1 year later, same competition. I went back and I was over 12. Same thing. I freaking finished dead last probably. And freaking sucked.
So was Natalie was Natalie a part of the whole thing then? Was she doing her?
Not that one. So this is May 15 and I think it was September 15. We took it to the next level, and that's when it really started. And we were hitting them all at that point. Once she got on board and she was invested in it, that's when it like really took off. So she was, I think her first one was in Myrtle Beach. So we were still in South Carolina. Then we did Savannah, Georgia, which is essentially right here too. We didn't really branch out. We went to Greensboro, North Carolina, and then we went all the way to Richmond, Virginia. We're like, whoa, this is like 7 hours away. This is crazy. I can't believe we're going this far for a beard competition. And
because I remember, so I lived in Atlanta for a brief period of time, and I remember that Atlanta used to have a club down there.
Yeah, we did that competition in 16. We did that one, and that was the first time me and Natalie both took first place in our categories. At the Atlanta Facial Hair Society on a trailer outside of a bar that later on Ben got shot at.
And it wasn't even Atlanta. It was like a subsidiary. So I was at the competition, believe it or not.
It was Locust Grove.
Grove,
dude. It was straight in the worst part of Locust Grove.
It was hood. It was
hood. Oh my dude! It was at the heart, like the craziest biker bar I've ever been to in my entire life. This place there was no reason there should have been a beard competition in this place. It was rough as crap, and we were there.
I was friends with the president of that club at that time because I lived in Atlanta.
Okay.
So it's funny. We were at that same beard competition. We just didn't know it. Yeah. It was probably like you're talking about party.
It was, man. It was crazy.
of bikers and beards.
Mm-hmm.
It was outdoors on the back of a trailer
with no steps. They had the trailer, like the ramps down, but it wasn't a solid. It was the one with the bars.
Yeah.
So we're having to like walk up these. Oh my gosh, dude! It was the
and I
craziest
believe
thing.
that's the only competition that I even went to there in Locust Grove.
Okay.
I believe they had it
Me too.
I believe they had it like a year later, but
Mm-hmm.
by that time I was too busy doing other stuff. That I totally forgot about bearding by that time.
I think it was on the same day as a different beard competition. That was like our first one we had to decide, and we're like, can't do two. We had to go do something else. But yeah, that was 16. I was doing full beard styled stash that year, and I was doing okay. So I was feeling a little bit better in my beard career then, because I beat DC at Atlanta, and he was my big full beard styled stash competitor. You know, like me and him would go back and forth, but I was a lot of seconds and thirds in my 2016.
Most people now, these full beard style stash guys, who do not know the power that DC Cunningham had. This guy, I mean, I would say if he competed now, he would probably, like he was back then, he would probably win every single competition.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think the competition might be a lot different now. I think he would still do okay, but I don't think he would. I don't think he would walk on everybody like he did. I think it would. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe he'll come back and we'll find out.
He will. So So you get hooked into that, and so you're doing all that. How did you come across Honest Amish?
So that was I started growing a beard out, and I was like, well, I need beard oil, right? That's what I need. Now I got beard. So I got on Amazon and typed in beard oil, and it was the first one that popped up.
All right.
That was it. 2014.
So you're still doing the you're still working at the nuclear site, you know, and then you're going to all these beard competitions using Honest Amish, but by then your partying days have calmed down a little bit.
Hold on. Freaking Tyler Hill is here.
Oh, what Tyler Hill?
What's up, Tyler Hill? Holy crap. Man, he's alive.
I haven't seen Tyler Hill in ages.
Man, what's up, buddy? Anyway, go ahead.
Is he still a whaler? That's the question.
He's got a stupid mustache now.
Oh, Tyler Hill. Come on now.
Come on, Tyler Hill.
And nice to see you, man. Good God.
Good to see you, buddy.
Man, the power of the interwebs, I tell you.
So what was your question? Did you ask if I was drinking then? Was that your question?
So at that part, because I don't remember much of the Atlanta Cup. I might have been high and I might have been a little too drunk.
All right, so here we go with the drinking thing. I was drinking a lot, especially at these beer competitions, because number one, I was super nervous. So then I had to have a drink, and then it would be like someone else was drinking, and so then I would have to drink too because they were drinking, and they'd be like, "Oh, I had 2 shots." I'm like, "Well, I need 3 shots," and it was just a disaster. And that was my whole, first, pull. We went to Charleston every pub night because that we were part of that club. So
that was Paul Roof had that club on lockdown. That was his baby.
He did. And then and so every time we come back from Charleston, Natalie was just telling me dumb crap I did last night. And most of the time it was fine. Every once in a while I'd do something like bad. But 9 times out of 10, I was just being like super freaking obnoxious and stealing stuff. Because for some reason I like to steal stuff.
You were me, except I never stole stuff. I was just super obnoxious.
Dude, I would steal everything. Everything. Like if we went to a bar, I'm stealing the centerpieces. I'm stealing the mugs. Like I'm not stealing from a person. I would never steal from a person, but I'll steal from an establishment or a business all day, every day.
Sorry, my phone just gave me the 20% warning. Low batteries.
You'll be
come on, I need the charger because we're not conversation.
But so still drinking. Still drinking in 2016.
All right.
So that was my full beard styled stash year. And October of that, August of 16, my mom was diagnosed with cancer.
Gotcha.
And she didn't. So my mom had been sick, but she had been to all these multiple doctors, and they couldn't ever figure out what was wrong. And she'd go to this doctor and this doctor, and they're like, I don't know. Well, she had this pain in her like her, not her esophagus, but her that's right, in her esophagus, right here, going down like right at the top of her stomach. Yep. And she went to Vanderbilt. Yeah, I know. And she's in Vanderbilt, in Nashville finally, and they're like, well, you got this giant tumor on, right here, and there's not really a whole lot we can do about it. And so they're like, long story short, they're like, all right, is she going to make it to Thanksgiving? And so we're all making arrangements and stuff. And they're like, yeah, she'll make it Thanksgiving, no doubt, like for sure. And because that's like the biggest thing that my family did was like Thanksgiving. That's when we all, we all spread out. So we all try to get together at Thanksgiving. And so that was always the thing. Well, mom didn't make it to Thanksgiving. And so Denver was 16. I drove out there for the first Great American with DC.
Right.
And right after that was we went to Texas because my sister called and was like, you need to get down here now. Like, you need to get down here now. And that wasn't much after Great American. And so we drove down there. Mom ultimately ended up passing away in October. And I didn't take it very well. I was there when mom passed away, and I think about that time a whole lot. Like, I don't know if it was better that I watched her pass away, or if it would have been better if I didn't watch it. I don't know. But I was there, and dude, it fucked me up bad. Like, I don't I still, like, I don't know. It still fucks me up. But that moment in my life, it really was like a very defining moment. And after that, I got pretty excessive with the things I was doing, and I was drinking a whole lot. If I found pills, I was eating them. I was going to work messed up. Like, it got to the point, like, I was like, I knew what I was doing, and I was like, I'd go to the kitchen, like, grab a beer, but I'd like take 2 shots and not tell Natalie. You know what I mean? Like, it was stuff like that, and it's like, obviously, you probably fucking knew because I'm hammered and I only drank 1 beer, but I'm in here.
She probably knew, but you know how
she knows now. Yeah. But I don't know if this is the first time she's ever heard me say that. But like, it was stuff like that,
Sometimes blind eye to things and just don't want to realize that what's the truth.
So I was in bad shape, man. I was in bad shape, and I was drinking in the middle of the week because if I didn't drink, I felt wrong. Like, I'm like, all right, I just get super hammered on the weekend, but I was working 4/10, so I had 3 days off. And so I just get plastered for 3 days. But like I said, it got to the point I was doing that so much. If I didn't drink a beer in the middle of the week, I felt off.
Yeah.
So then I'm drinking in the middle of the week, which I'm like, if it was a work night, I'd try not to do that. You know what I mean? But then it was like creeping into that. And I'm like, all right. And then I'm like, well, I'm hiding it. I got to do it or I feel wrong. Like, what are we doing here, man? Like, what are we doing? Like, everything, like, I feel like everything's just falling apart. Like, everything I do is like messing up. Like, I'm fucking up at work. Like, everything's just, and I didn't care because my mom passed away, and I just didn't care anymore. I didn't care. Like, I was in a bad spot. And
so what was the deciding factor to finally just say, I can't do it anymore. I surrender all this.
So I know for a fact my mom never liked me drinking, and that was, and we did talk about it, on towards the end in her life. She's like, I'd rather you didn't drink and stuff. I know you do it, but and then she told me about Papaw and how he was he was an alcoholic and stuff and stuff like that. And I'm just like, all right, and then mom passes away, and I just get, I just don't care, I'm a mess. I'm just a mess, dude. And I just get in my head. I'm like, all right, these are the things I'm going on. So I was just straight Google it. I'm like, am I an alcoholic? And it was like, dude, I'm freaking checking the list. I'm like, son of a
yes,
man. I'm freaking the whole list. Yeah. I'm like, no, not me. I'm fine.
Of course not.
I'm good. I'm like, so I talked to a couple buddies and stuff that I know who struggled and weren't drinking anymore. And, and they helped me out. They're like, hey, this is, maybe you should think about it. Cause if you're doing this little checklist and you're checking off the whole list, you might not be, a full-fledged alcoholic, but you're freaking working on it. I was definitely a high functioning alcoholic for sure.
Yeah.
And, I can tell you, I still have a job. I still went to work, like I wasn't like I was laying out of work, but I just made the decision, man. It was like, I just had a lot of long, hard talks with myself. It was like, what are we doing? Is this what we want to do?
Yeah, is this what you do? Do you want to? Do you want to eventually just wreck everything? Or, you know, and really, this is coming from somebody. I've been in AA. You know, I still have friends that are sober to this day. Um, a lot of that, really, a lot of that changed who I am. But I can tell you,
Oh yeah, dude. It changes you for sure.
if it wasn't for me relying on certain things, I don't and making the changes, I wouldn't be here. I can
Yeah,
tell you
dude.
now, here
Me
today.
too. Probably. So with mine, I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna just during my conversations with myself, one thing I kept telling myself is like, your mom wouldn't be proud of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then I just got it in my head that mom could see what I was doing. And then I was like, well, mom can see what I'm doing. Like, man, I don't want to freaking disappoint her. And then I'm disappointing Natalie. I know she don't like it. Like, she don't want to have to tell me what I did every time we leave a competition. And I just was like, you know, just live your life like your mom can see you. Like, try to do, you know, try to do whatever you can do to just try to make her proud of what you're doing in your life. And this is not it. So I was like, all right, December 31st, 2016 is the last day I'm going to drink. That's it. And I'll drink, stop. Well, I started with a year. I was like, I'll stop drinking for a year. And so I'm like, all right. So me and a couple of my buddies, we went to the Mexican restaurant and we got hammered, man. Like this is what we were doing. We knew what we were doing. I had told it wasn't a secret. I'm like, this is it. I'm
Yeah, this
not
is what
drinking for a year. Let's do it, boys. So we did it. And that was it. Next day, I didn't drink. And I started going to the gym a bunch. My buddy at work, he gave me this diet, and I ate chicken and rice and tuna and rice and green beans for years, at least a year. And I just went to the gym. A whole bunch. I wasn't getting swole, but I was just doing it. I was going through the motions. I was eating the right stuff. I would go to work. I would talk to him about working out, and he would, you know, kind of like move my diet around. How about, try a half cup this time and see what your abs look like. And, like he was helping me and didn't even, I don't know if he knew he was helping me, but it was such a big help. And it got me past where I needed to be. And then that was the year that I was like, all right, like we're gonna do this beard thing. Mom super loved the beard thing. She loved watching me do it, but I was barely doing it. Like I can only imagine what she would be so obnoxious with all of her comments and stuff on Talking Beards right now. Holy crap. It'd be every episode. She'd be like, my baby boy on Talking Beards. And it'd be she never got to watch an episode of Talking Beards. And I know she would have freaking loved that, but it was just that was it. I needed to go do this. We're gonna stop drinking and we're gonna go win some beard competitions. So, when I was in Denver, I watched the goatee category, and me and DC stood there, and he was like, "Man, if you would have shaved your sides off, you could have placed at Great American. You could have." I got my butt kicked in full beard styled stash because Natalie always styled my mustache, and I was trying to do it by myself, and it didn't freaking work. So, I went out. I went out there without my stylist, and it cost me. But she also told me to go goatee several times, and I had always picked on Doug Cameron. He's over here on the East Coast, and he just won every goatee category. I didn't even really know him. I was like, you know what? One day I'm gonna shave goatee, and I'm gonna kick your butt. And that was pretty much the first conversation I ever had with Doug Cameron. Now we're super good friends, and he's a super good guy. But January 2017, I went to the barber, shaved my sides off, and I won 18 out of 19 competitions I went to that year, including Worlds. I just kicked everybody's butt all year long, and I needed it. I needed to go kick everybody's butt in 2017. I needed that, and I got it. And now I get my butt kicked by John Abraham and Andrew and Patrick Dawson. So it was fine. I had 17. It was a good run.
And you had Worlds 2017. I went to Worlds 2017 just to say I could go to Worlds.
Me too.
I knew that there was no shot in hell that I would even place in the podium.
That's what I thought.
Look at you. You did.
So my number at Worlds was 107. I didn't pick the number. I grew up with my mom at 107 Duke Street.
Oh, wow. So
And
that was like
yeah,
an size, man.
it
Crazy.
felt like it,
Yeah.
and that was it. I did it. I won worlds. The Honest Amish thing happened, and I
Yep.
started out as a brand ambassador because they helped me get to worlds. Like they're like,
Yep.
I sent in this nice typed email. I'll look it
You
up
were
and read it.
you were really big, even though you weren't with Honest Amish. I mean, I remember you every time you use it, you were a social media guru back then. You know, talking about it and repping them even when you didn't have to rep them. You know.
If I get that's one thing. If I get loyal to you, it's loyal to a fault, and
Yeah.
that's to a brand as well.
Yeah.
And it's
Still
if you're
something.
my buddy and you're my buddy back, I'm be
Yeah.
your freaking buddy hard.
Yeah.
But you screw me over, I'm done with you. Like
Yep.
it's not a there's no middle ground, and that's the same thing. It's an all or nothing, and I'm like I said, I'm the same way with a brand, and I was always Honest Amish. I found the brand. I
Yep.
grew up in Mennonite country. It spoke to me. Obviously, Mennonites and Amish aren't exactly the same, but the horse and buggy, I remember like,
Yeah.
driving down the road and there was always horse and buggies. I had Dodge poop in the road,
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
the Mennonite people were at the grocery store. And when I went to school all the way up until 5th grade, I was with, little Mennonite kids and stuff. They
Yeah.
were in our regular school, and then middle school on, they're working, they're done in school. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it was that part of it was like, it spoke to me. I'm like, yeah, this Honest Amish brand's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's Amish. Yeah.
yeah, so I like this brand. And I was with Wild Hair Jackalope brand as well.
Yep.
After that, because I'm sponsored because I was running around with DC, so we're just
Yeah.
both
That was
using
Daniel
Wild
Cunningham's,
Hair.
for
Yeah.
those of you who didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was using them for a little bit, and it was cool. Obviously, it wasn't what Honest Amish is, and when
Yeah.
Honest I was going to Worlds, I didn't have, I could have saved and made it work and figured it out, but I'm like, hey, people are doing the sponsorship thing. I watch NASCAR. I'm gonna go get some sponsors, and so
Yeah.
I did. I
You did.
I went and got a pomade sponsor. Didn't pay for
Okay.
pomade. Went and got a haircut sponsor. Don't have to pay for haircuts. Went and got a beard sponsor. Don't have to buy beard products. It's what you do. I've been watching NASCAR. I know how this works. So I did
Uh-huh.
it. I'm sending out emails. I'm getting free stuff. I'm like, all right, this is cool. And I got the email to the owner of Honest Amish, and the joke on the street was, he don't answer emails. He just don't reply to them, and
And
he
guess what?
probably won't reply.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so I sent an email, waited a month. I didn't get a reply. I'm like, I'm resending this thing. And I resent it, and he immediately replied. And he was like, yeah, I talked to a couple guys about you. They know you. You're pretty good. And well, I'll send you some money and help you get the worlds and
There
some
you go.
soap and a T-shirt. And I'm like, is this a permanent thing? He's like, nah, I'm just helping you get the worlds because you're a good dude, basically. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I've got 10 soaps in my house and 3 or 4 oils and 4 or 5 T-shirts. I'm freaking good. I'm
Or
ecstatic. I couldn't believe this package I opened, all these soaps and stuff in it. Yeah. If that guy could see me now, he'd be
So-
super proud of my living room.
so you get involved with them, just by that. How the heck did you approach them with being part of the company?
So I won Worlds in 2017.
That was it. That's all it took.
The owner flew to Worlds, shook my hand, and said, "You're a brand ambassador now. I'm gonna help you get to these events. Here's an email address. Just send me an email and let me know how much your hotel and gas and stuff is, and
Yeah.
we'll help you out. And we'll send you stuff, and you take pictures of our stuff and be an ambassador." I'm like, I'm doing it, and so I did it to the best of my ability. I never, from that point forward, I very, very, very seldom did not wear an Honest Amish shirt.
Yep.
I got to the point that the owner, so at Mox, we had to wear fluorescent because we're on a construction site.
Yeah.
I got him to make Honest Amish fluorescent shirts, and he sent them to me so I could still wear Honest Amish shirts to work.
See, yeah, you're hooked.
I'm hooked. Like I'm saying, like I'm loyal to a fault,
Yep.
even to a brand. Like you do me
Yeah.
good, I'm gonna do you good right back. And Honest Amish has never done anything bad to me. They've always taken care of my beard. I've loved the brand. I love everything about it. I love the people, the everything, the vibe of it, the branding of it, the everything. I loved it. I just was hooked. And so the more I could be involved is the better. So all the while, I was like, hey, can I do more? Hey, man, hey, what's going on? Can I do more? Because
Yeah.
that was it. And he'd be like, no, man, you're good. You're good. Just keep doing you. Here's some more shirts. And
Yep.
and then he's like, hey, I got this kit. I got a kit before the kit came out on the website, like with the box and stuff. I was like, holy crap, I made it. Like I got this kit thing. It's not even on the website yet.
Yeah.
And so I was like, big time. And yeah, I just kept doing that. And then I remember I was at one event in Florida and he was like, talking to it. This is funny. I asked him because he was sponsoring Great American. This was before me, and it would have been the Great American that was at, oh my, what was the name of that? Not Big Bird.
We're talking about Snowbird.
Snowbird. So the Snowbird one, he was sponsoring.
Yeah.
And that was like, I think 20. COVID happened and it moved it. Well, before it, so this was probably 19. I was like, hey, what's up with that Great American competition that you're sponsoring? Or you need me to go out there and like do something or whatever? And he was like, what event is that? Yeah. He didn't even know he sponsored it. He forgot. And I was like, dude, you're sponsoring these events. You don't even know what you're sponsoring. I was like, what the heck? And he was like, hey, do you want to handle that for me? And I was like, sure. And so I was like, so then I was like kind of doing stuff, right? So I'd like maybe one competition a month. I'd be like, hey, can you send Omar some beard oils and to Wichita or whatever? And that was what I was doing, just very sporadic.
Yeah.
And then the nationals happened and it was in Scranton, PA.
Yeah.
Well, Honest Amish ended up getting tile sponsor, and I was kind of involved with that. So I was like, this is pretty cool. Like the owner's asking me questions about sponsoring nationals and stuff. This is cool. And then they did it. They're like, all right, well, Honest Amish is hands off before me. They were hands off. Like no event. Like they would sponsor, Spokane had an event, Portland had an event. They were sponsoring Richmond. Well, they weren't going to these events and like
they were just sponsoring. Yeah,
they're just sponsoring. And heck, like I said, the owner forgot he was even doing Great American.
Oh, what's Natalie saying?
I don't know. That was from Melissa. She was poking.
The
for Melissa. I don't know. Anyway, forgot where I was at. Natalie completely distracted me. No idea what I was saying.
Captain's fault.
I don't know. No idea.
Maybe that was a poke from Melissa Crafton. I don't get it.
No idea. So, yeah, so I was helping out with the company and stuff, and then Great American. Okay, so nationals happened. So Scranton. I was they Beer Team USA Nationals or whatever wanted Honest Amish to help, and they, like I said, they didn't know about helping with an event or vending at an event, or they didn't do that. Like the owner did at the beginning, but then once he got to a point, he didn't have to do that anymore, and he didn't really have time to do that anymore, nor did he have anyone to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, hey, do you mind doing that and just doing the things that they want us to do and just kind of help them? I was like, I'm all in. And so I did my thing, and I helped them out and got involved with the meetings. I got I helped get a singer that we sponsored to do like the national anthem and stuff. And
nice.
I was in it. I was helping anything I can. And then he showed up and he was like, you're doing it. Like, this is pretty cool. You got a table and there's like people working. They're wearing Honest Amish shirts. Heck yeah, it's pretty cool. And I was like, dude, if I ever get the opportunity to work for you full time, I would love to. And he said, when you get home, send me a proposal.
Nice.
And I was like, well, that's not a no. So I freaking got home at like 2:00 in the morning. Natalie went to bed and I started typing up a proposal. Like I couldn't wait to get home, type up this proposal. And then, radio silence, because that's what we do over here at Honest Amish. And I didn't hear from him for a while, and I'm going nuts. Like, I'm just like, what's the answer? What are we doing?
The answer.
I'm like, hey,
how long you're still doing the nuclear thing
I'm like, hey, yeah. So I'm at work and stuff and doing my thing. I got a great job. Like I've got the coolest setup. Like I'm the boss out there. I'm on night shift. I've got my hand-picked crew from day shift. So I got all my buddies from Mox with me, and I got a truck, and I'm doing it, man. I'm freaking doing it. And
But in the back of your mind, you're like, hey, I wish they would ever get back with me.
Oh, heck yeah, man. Like, I couldn't wait to not wear a hard hat and boots and safety glasses and pants. I didn't have to wear none of that crap anymore. And he was like, all right, come up here and check it out. And I didn't have a vacation time. I just spent all my vacation time for nationals. And I was like, you want me to take a whole week off? I was like, I can't take a week off of work. I can't. I'm like, but we better figure it out.
Yeah.
So not only we're in the middle of layoffs because I was on a construction site. So we're about to, I'm gonna have to lay off like half my crew, like in like a couple of weeks.
because you won't be there. There's nobody.
No, because the project's winding down.
Yep.
And so yeah, so I talked to the owner. I'm like, all right, well, this is gonna be an awkward conversation. I was like, hey, night shift is over, and I stayed over and waited on day shift to get there, and which was already, obviously something's up because Aaron's still sitting here and, day shift's coming in. So I sat in with the owner. I could sit in with my project manager, and I straight lied to him. I'm not telling him I'm going on a job interview thing. I said, hey, man, something came up. Can't tell you what it is.
I got to go.
I got to take a week off.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, this is pretty poor timing on your part. We're doing layoffs in a couple weeks, and we're winding down, and you don't have any vacation time. I was like, I'm fully aware this is awful. I said, I will get everything straight. I will have my backup guy know everything. I'll be a phone call away. I will get all my work done. Like, I'll get like as much done as I can, but I can't be here next week.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, dude, you do you, man. And he's pretty mad about it. So I take care of it. I go up there for the whole week. It's the most amazing thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. I'm just floating around like I'm in Honest Amish. Like, holy crap, I'm in it. I'm like sleeping there. Like, that's where the apartment is. Like, I could go downstairs in the middle of the night and just walk around and just look at boxes of soap and oil and balms. Like, dude, I'm in freaking heaven. Like,
yeah.
Like, imagine if like you were like the biggest fan of Nikes, and they're like, all right, you can just go sleep in the Nike factory tonight. See ya. Like, you're just like, holy shit, I'm in Nike right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's 100% how I felt. Like, being just like such a fan of the brand, and now you get to go be in the brand. You get to be by myself. Like, I'm not just like, I'd already been there once, and I kind of walked around, looked around, but
you're by yourself.
I'm there, dude. I'm freaking there. And I'm helping making oils. I'm looking at Walmart stuff and how that happens. And this is how these, I'm helping fill things, and like, oh, you put the stuff in boxes. Like, I'm doing all the things all week. That's what I do. I'm like all the things. So everything, every aspect, I'm doing it that week. And then we sat down the end of the week. He's like, what do you think? I'm like, I'm ready to do this now. What are we doing here? And shook hands, went back, and sat down and had a conversation with my project manager, and he straight up said, you know what, man, fuck you, but man, you're doing it good. You're like, this shouldn't happen to anybody but you. So, I knew this was going to happen.
So everything that you mentioned in the proposal, everything come true.
Everything's come true. I've even gone back and looked and was like, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And I've done it all. Like, I'm like, crap, I should have made a longer list because I already knocked out my original list.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've knocked it all out. I did everything I, initially said I was going to do. And I'm just continuing to still do what I'm doing, And so that night at work, I stood up in front of all my guys. I was like, hey, I gotta tell y'all something. And, we were close. And I was like, hey, this is I'm putting in my 2-week notice in the morning with the project manager, and I'm going to go be director of marketing for Honest Amish. And everybody that was in attendance at that meeting all stood up and applauded and came up and hugged me. And it was a whole thing. Everybody's like, yeah, you're literally wearing an Honest Amish shirt to work every day. Like, you don't even wear Mistras stuff. Like, you don't even care about this job. Like, never did. Like, it was always like, I'm going to this beard competition this weekend, and the project manager knew it. Like, it was just like, I did my best to not overdo it, but like, it just, sometimes it was like, hey man, I got to do 3 weekends in a row. Sorry. And he'd be like, it is what it is. You told me day one, this bearding thing meant a lot to you. So, I mean, we kind of need you, but as long as you make sure everything's taken care of, and I always did, I had my backup guy and he knew everything I knew. And, I would have everything set up. Like I never left anybody hanging, but like, it was a lot, I was working 100% a full-time job, 50, 60, 70 hours a week. It's an hour drive one way. I would get off work and then I would do, social media stuff or Honest Amish stuff or whatever I could do, trying to find beer competitions. And like, I didn't even know what I was doing. And then I was just doing it constantly. And I'd go to work and I would be more focused on making sure my MC stuff for Central Texas was taken care of. You know what I mean? That was my focus. I'm like, oh, I'm doing a competition. So I had like my work computer at work. It was just, I beard stuff going on in there. I was taking care of printing off stuff. And, that's what I cared about. And everybody saw that's what I cared about more. And so when it all came to be, and, I won this lottery and just this amazing dream came true, no one was surprised. I was super surprised. I couldn't believe that this was happening, but like everybody around me was like, of course this is happening. Of course.
They saw it already. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was what happened, man. And I put in my 2-week notice and hadn't looked back. Haven't wore a hard hat and barely wore jeans in 2 years.
Melissa Crafton wants to know, do you even know what you're doing now?
Not a clue. No idea.
He's fulfilling his purpose.
That's it. Whatever that is.
And now 100%, this man's purpose, hands down, because I see it, is to make bearding better than it was.
100%. That's all I want. So now I get to like help the community that has just meant so much to me for so long. And nobody, I mean, maybe someone's been given this opportunity, but to my knowledge, no one's been given the opportunity in which I've been given. And I'm going to use it to the best of my ability to help out this entire community that I love so much. And it just makes sense for a brand. It just works out. We're a beard product company, so go help out the beard people. And so I'm doing it. And I want this community to grow. I want every beard competition to have billboards leading up to it. I want every beer competition to, before the competition, go on their local news channel and tell everybody. I want everybody to know about bearding. I want it to be as big as it should be. This is important. We do good work. This community is awesome. It's everybody should be involved with it. And
because even though, let's just be honest, here in the past couple of years, there's been some bad negative connotations to the bearding world.
And that happens, man. Like any big group, you're going to have crap happen.
Yeah. But those of you who know nothing about the bearding community, I can tell you right now, if you have questions about how to get involved or anything like that, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Aaron. I know this podcast isn't about that, but Aaron, I can tell you right now, this is what this podcast is all about. You come from hardships in life and to, to doing what you want to do, to finding your purpose and living your purpose. And you're not letting anything stop that. So that right there is what I really want this podcast to be all about when I started out, is you take the negative crap that life hands you and you take that and you turn it into something positive and you live your life. And that's what you're doing.
Everything that happens to you in your life, either good or bad, turns you into the person you are today. And just do the best you can with what you've been given and do your best to be a good person. And what's the golden rule? You treat others you like to be treated. That's a huge thing in my head all the time.
And you have the choice as a human being to choose, right, what you want to do, whether it be right or wrong. Right.
Yep.
But if you do something right in your life, find that purpose. That's why I grow a beard. When I first started growing a beard, I could grow a beard, but then I found the bearding community and I found my purpose. And my purpose isn't about winning awards, because I don't win hardly any. My purpose is about helping somebody who's less fortunate than me. Helping somebody who needs those funds, who needs those charities. So, man, I mean, what an amazing journey, dude.
It has been, dude. You're freaking telling me. I'm living it. It's been wild. My whole life has been wild.
So what are your, and I know I put this up, for the show. Here it comes. Goals and aspirations for next year. All right?
Man, so we talked about this before the show,
Yep.
and you're like, no, not work wise. What's your aspirations to life? And now there's no separate, right? So like when I had a real job, I could separate work and home, but now it's all work, and I love my job. I love what I do, and it's all the same. So all I want to do is just help take Honest Amish to the next level. Really, that's it. That's all I really care about, and obviously helping the beer community as much as I possibly can too. But my job is to make Honest Amish bigger and better than what it was when I got here. And that's my goal. That's my goal all day, every day, is what can I do to make Honest Amish bigger and better than it was yesterday? Yeah. And that's my goal. I know you wanted me goal, but
no, because
there is no me goal anymore, man. My me goal is Honest Amish. That's my goal.
Because you found your passion.
That's it, dude. Nothing else matters.
Once you find your passion, that's all that it takes. So, we've been going now for over an hour, way over an hour, almost 2 hours. If there's anything you could tell somebody out there right now who's listening, who might be dealing with crap, who might be struggling, who might not know what their purpose is, what's a word of advice you can give to them?
Man, just I don't know. Man, you put me on the spot for it. Here, do good shit.
Yes.
Andrew Etten. Yeah, that's pretty good. But man, just don't stop. Just keep digging. Don't just if something's wrong, don't stop. Like if you're sick, that's been the biggest thing. Like me and Natalie always joked, like, well, if we get COVID, you just keep going. Don't freaking just sit there and let it take you. And that's with anything. Like if you feel bad, don't just sit there and just sit in it. Like sometimes you need those days. I get it, but don't just make it your new thing. Is like, oh, shit's wrong with my life. I'm broke or whatever. Go freaking do it. Get off your butt. Make it happen. Don't just sit there and let it take you, because if you let it take you, it will take you. Just keep fighting. Don't stop.
Your wife is a prime example of that.
Hell yeah.
I mean, here it is.
She is the example of don't stop.
Those of you who don't know Natalie Johnston, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, she desperately needs a kidney, and she's not letting this stop her by any means. This woman does anything and everything for the breeding community. She is Aaron's boss. Let's put it that way. She's Aaron's boss. Okay.
She is my unpaid intern.
Yes.
But she's definitely the boss over here. But
she does everything, and she does it, and you would never know that she's hurting, because she doesn't show it.
She don't show it to a lot of people, but some people see it. And it's
I mean, I saw it in Nashville. I could tell, because you could tell. But, and I'm gonna just put this out there again, like I did at the beginning of the podcast. Please, look up the Augusta Health organization. Go on there.
Look at this thing. This was her. This was her left kidney.
I mean, imagine
what in her body, and the right one is worse. So
so do whatever you can, guys and girls. I mean, yes, I can tell you right now, they'll ask you some questions, and if you're not 100% healthy, you will probably be. They'll say, unfortunately, you can't do it.
I can't be pretty healthy, man. Like everything has to line up just right. Like you can have the right blood, you can have the right, whatever, all the things. But if you're just a little bit overweight, or you used to have this other health issue, or what, it's super specific.
It is. But for those of you who are scared because you don't know whether or not you can or cannot, do it anyway. They'll call you, they'll ask you health questions, they'll go through all that. But I mean, and she's not the only one that's struggling right now with the dealing with a kidney. Josh Druin from the Derby City Whisker Club needs a kidney. Paul Hendricks from Austin Facial Club. There's 3 individuals in the breeding community right now who are
that we know of.
Yes.
That we know of. I'm sure there's more.
Yep, there could be more. So just do whatever you can. So I know it's getting late and I haven't even ate dinner yet.
I know, man. I feel bad you haven't eaten, but everybody make sure when you get your license and stuff, fill out that donor card. And
do it.
So if something happens to you, man, let your organs keep living on.
Yep. And I would just like to thank you again. I know that tonight's episode was not the smoothest because of all the technicalities.
We got through it. It was fine.
Dude, thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story and being the unapologetic Aaron Johnston.
You're welcome. I had a great time. I appreciated the conversation that wasn't all beard related. And I got to talk about a little bit of other stuff. And man, there was still more. Like we didn't even get into all of it. I was like, man, I didn't talk about this. I didn't talk about that. Oh, well, it was all right. We got 2 hours in. That's pretty good.
We talked a lot about the stuff that people don't know, and that's what I want this to be about. I want this to be about the Aaron Johnston who has went through a life of street racing, partying, a life of loss, a life of grief, a life of addiction. That's what this podcast is all about.
And it's been an awesome time, Kyle. Thank you for putting on this podcast. Thank you for starting it. You're doing a great job with it. And now you have your own Facebook page and everything. You're professional now. You are set up for success, my friend.
Yeah, it's got the wrong name on it, but we'll take care of that.
It'll be fine.
But speaking of, so real quick, I know this isn't it's not a mental health thing, but tonight, the Cyan Tattoo Invitational Beard Mustache Contest, the Facebook event page went live tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's being sponsored by Honest Amish and White Oak Beard Supply. So it's not just a beard competition, ladies and gentlemen. It is a 3-day tattoo event.
Hell yeah. I'm excited to be at this thing. We're side note with that, we're actually going to go to a tattoo convention tomorrow because I've never been to one. Right. And I need to walk around and at least see what one looks like before I go help do one or whatever we're doing.
So there's going to be one. It's going to be up in Dayton, Ohio. It's going to be the weekend of March 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. It's the same weekend as Beard Mob. But
do you see this?
Who?
Melissa Crafton sounds a snob.
Me or you? I thought she was talking about me. She must be talking about you.
Probably. I think she's pretty well talking about me.
but and it's also the competition, which is on the 3rd. It is donating a local charity in Dayton called For the Love of Children. So that's just another example of Aaron D Johnston helping the breeding community get back.
We'll have an Honest Amish tattooer there.
Yeah, there will be,
and there'll be a flash sheet. And we're going to be trying out some other stuff. So yeah, man, we're going to do it. This is going to be awesome.
So I mean, hell, since you brought that up, there will be a flash sheet of mustaches and beards that you'll be able to get on Saturday. And part of those proceeds are going to go to charity.
Yep, 10% of all those proceeds from the flash will go to that charity.
So we're
doing what we can.
Yep. One beard event at a time, one positive, one negative outlook, changing it into a positive outlook at a time. So
that's right,
man. Thank you. I'm not even going to take you off the screen. I'm going to leave
Take me out of here. Finish up your show. I appreciate you, Kyle. Thank you for having me. Thank you for everybody for watching. Aaron D Johnston, social media stuff, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Yeah, that's it. HonestAmish.com, TalkingBeards.com, and everybody go to TheBeardCalendar.com. Check it out. If there's an event near you, go be involved. Just go do it.
Do it. Yeah. So thanks, Aaron. I appreciate it. I'm going to wrap up real quick, and I'll holler at you here in a little bit.
All right. See you.
All right. So, wow, man, that was a fun-filled episode. Let me tell you, probably one of the best, but also one of the most hectic ones I've had because everything went haywire. But like I do every single episode, for those of you who are struggling with anything, whether it be a relationship, of thinking that you are alone because you don't have a relationship, well, find yourself, find your true happiness, find who you are. If you're struggling with any type of addiction or anything, whether it be anger issues or just anything in general, reach out to somebody and talk. This podcast is changing my life one podcast at a time. So just reach out and talk to somebody. You're not alone no matter what. And stay tuned. In 2 weeks, I will not have a bearded guest on, but I'll have a guy by the name of Ken Parks, whose son died of brain cancer. It'll be, heck, man, 6, 7 years ago. He'll be my guest on to talk about Phil and the journey that he went through with his son Phil, and then he'll also be talking about a nice little event that he has coming up to donate to where the money's going to go to the Norton Children's Cancer Society. So with that, I'll leave you all. Have a great night. Do something positive for somebody, because it'll help you in the long run. All righty. Have a good night, y'all.